Hi there, welcome to GrainTV. It's Thursday, November 5th, where it was a day not to be long in the markets. Let's take a look at the Grain Edge trading platform and see where we closed. In Chicago, wheat was the leader with an unchanged score for today, while corn was off 6 and beans off a whopping 20 cents a bushel. The big impetus today was export sales, which were very disappointing for beans. Let's take a look at what USDA said. For beans, we had 655,000 metric tons of export sales for the week. That compares to 1.4 to 1.8 million metric tons that had been expected. We alluded to potential problems yesterday where we said that we've seen a real slowdown in Chinese export sales business, and sure enough this week we got sort of disappointing numbers, and even more disappointing was wheat, which came in well below 100,000 metric tons at 84,000 metric tons. Corn was a respectable 556,000 metric tons, in line with analyst expectations, but even that wasn't enough to really get this market to do anything but sell off. Let's take a look at wheat, where we had a strong day by holding the unchanged column, or holding prices unchanged for the day. We have been hovering up at the high end of trade patterns for the last few sessions here, and right now as we're looking above, we're holding above that 100-day moving average, and we're looking at 531 as a potential upside here. Can we take out 531 and keep this upward momentum going? That's going to be what you should be watching for in the next trade session or two, to look for that 531 on Dees wheat to see if we can continue this upside momentum. In the case of soybeans, it was all down today. We took out the 576 mark, the 876 mark we had been talking about for the last few days as potential support, and we ended up quite a bit lower, closing on the lows at the end of the session today. Look out for 858 on November beans. That's where the lows have been established back in August and back in September, and I suspect the market will be gunning for those in the next trade session, if not into next week. So keep an eye out on that. Let's take another look at exports, and let's take sort of a look at our scorecard as where we stand today versus where we were this same time last year. And you can see that all three commodities are well below last year's pace at this time of year. Now, what's problematic here is that USDA has not really factored in this slow pace, especially in the case of corn, where they are only looking for a modest 1% drop in export business this year, and we are a whopping 32% behind pace in terms of what we've done so far. In wheat, it's not quite as bad, but still relatively disappointing, especially with this week's bad sales number. We're 15% behind last year's pace versus 1% in the case of what USDA has factored in. So keep in mind, Tuesday will be the next WASDE report from USDA. They would, in my opinion at least, have to start getting realistic about their corn export numbers and start to ratchet those down, just because we have seen such disappointing numbers in reflection to what has been the normal pace for this time of year. On the volatility side, I want to talk about options volatility, because I imagine there's some farmers out there that are looking at reownership. I know I've been talking to some about call option strategies with the market sinking lower. Basis is coming up. Basis is going to be strong, in my opinion, for the next 6 weeks as we go to the end of the year. So if you're selling cash grain and you want to re-own it on paper with some sort of call option strategy, what might you be looking at? If you're looking for sort of a short-term play, you know, the volatility in that January option is pretty low right now. What that means is that you're paying less in time value relative to some of the later months. And so I'd really, if you're looking for sort of a short-term play here in the next 6 weeks before that January option on November beans expires, then that has pretty low cost volatility, although we have seen volatility come up in the last week as reflected by that blue line versus the orange line because of the big move down here today. So if you have any questions about trading and about options and executing some sort of buyback strategies, by all means give us a call, 877-472-4607. We'd be happy to talk to you about your personal marketing situation. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow on GrainTV.